In two system cells, we have mobile unit B, which is near the border of the cell B, but it is close to cell site A, but it is close to cell site A. Similarly, we have mobile unit A, which is on the border of or boundary of system A, but it is close to cell site B, but it is close to cell site B. So we have two system cells. This is the two system cells. So adjacent channel interference can occur between two systems in a duopoly market system. In this situation, adjacent channel interference can occur at both the cell sites and the mobile unit. So in two cell system, the adjacent channel interference can occur at both the cell site and the mobile unit. For instance, mobile unit A can be located at the boundary of its own cell A in system A, but very close to cell B of system B. So A is on the verge of the boundary but close to the system B. So this will interfere with the cell site B, and B will interfere with the cell site A. So following the definition of near and far end interference, the solid arrow indicate that interference may occur at cell site A, and the dotted arrow indicate that the interference may occur at mobile unit A. Of course, the same interference will be introduced at cell site B and mobile unit B. So this is in cell of two systems. The two causes of near and far end interference of concern here are, so interference caused on the setup channel. So the first cause of near and far end interference which concerns us is the interference caused on the setup channel. Second one is interference caused on the voice channel. These are the two causes of near and far end interference which are concerned for us. So interference caused on the setup channel and interference caused on the voice channel. So this is the spectrum allocation with the new additional spectrum. So we have, this is channel A, this is channel B. We have A dash B dash additional spectrum interference. The additional spectrum interference may occur because of A dash and B dash. So this is the reverse channel and this is the forward channel. So we have the reverse channel and the forward channel. So this is channel A and this is channel B. This is channel A and channel B. So A dash B dash are the additional spectrum interference that will interfere with A channel and B channel. That will interfere with A and B channels. In cells of two systems. So in cells of two systems, receive interference at the mobile unit. There will be a receive interference at the mobile unit, and there will be receive interference at the cell site. So there will be two types of interference: receive interference at the mobile unit and receive interference at the cell site. Effect on near and mobile units. So what are the effects on near and mobile unit? So avoidance of near and far end interference. So in this we will see the avoidance of near and far end interference. The near end mobile units are the mobile units which are located very close to the cell site. So the near end mobile units are the mobile units which are very close located, which are very located close to the cell site. These mobile units transmit with the same power as the mobile unit which are far away from the cell site. So the distance d naught between a calling mobile transmitter and a base station receiver is much larger than the distance di between a mobile transmitter causing interference and the same base station receiver. So we have TX0. TX0 is the desired signal. So we have, it is at a distance d naught from the cell side. So d naught is 10 miles. It is far away. It is 10 miles away. For example, it is 10 miles away. And we have TX1. TX1 is the interference signal. So TX1 is 0.25 miles away from the cell site. It is 0.25 miles away from the cell site. So this TX1 will interfere with the TX0. So this interference, which is based on the distance ratio, can be expressed as C by I. Carrier by interference ratio is given by d naught by di to the power minus gamma, where gamma is the path loss slope. The ratio di by d naught is the near and far end ratio. So from above equation, the effect of near and far end ratio of the carrier adjacent channel interference ratio is dependent on the relative position of the moving mobile unit. So C by I is given by d naught by di to the power minus gamma. So for example, if the calling mobile unit is 10 miles away from the base station receiver and the mobile unit causing the interference is 0.25 mile away from the base station receiver, then the carrier to interference ratio for the interference received at the base station receiver with gamma equal to 4 is C by I will be 10 by 0.25. 10 by 0.25 will be 40 to the power minus 4, which is nothing but minus 64 dB. So this means that the interference is stronger than the desired signal by 64 dB. So it means that the interference D naught is the desired signal, Di is the interference signal. So the interference is stronger than the desired signal by 64 dB. This kind of interference can be reduced only by frequency separation with narrow filter characteristics. So how to reduce the near and mobile unit effect? How to reduce the effect of near and mobile unit? This kind of interference can be reduced only by frequency separation with a narrow filter characteristics. Assume that a filter of channel B has a 24 dB per octave slope, then a 24 dB per loss begin at the edge of the channel B by 2. The increase from B by 2 to B result in 24 dB loss. The increase from B to B result in another 24 dB loss and so forth. So there will be a loss of 24 dB from the voice channel. So in order to achieve a loss of 64 dB, we may have to double the frequency band more than 2 times as 64 by L. L is the filter characteristics. So 64 by 24. So it will be 2.67. The frequency band separation for 64 dB isolation is 2 to the power minus C by I by L, B by 2. So C by I by L it will be 2.67. So 2 to the power 2.67 B by 2. So it is 3.18 B. So the frequency band separation for 64 dB isolation is 4B. It will be minimum 4B. It will be minimum 4B. 4B means 4 times the bandwidth. 4 times the bandwidth. So therefore a minimum separation of 4 channel is needed to satisfy the isolation criteria of 64 dB. The general formula for the required channel separation is based on the filter characteristics L, which is expressed as follows. So the frequency band separation is given by 2 to the power G minus 1 B, where G equal to gamma log 10 d naught by di by L. So this is the effect on near and mobile unit. So we have distance versus relative power. So if power P naught is moving from 0.2 miles to 9.75 miles, there will be a loss of 64 dBs. There will be a loss of 64 dB. There will be a loss of 64 dB. So this is using space for co-channel isolation. Now coming to non-linear amplification. Non-linear amplification. Are you understanding, students? So this is non-co-channel interference. So in this, how to avoid the non-co-channel interference? We are saying how to avoid the non-co-channel interference. The topic is easy. If you go through the theory topic, it will be easy. The theory is very easy. Not of only few formulas are there. If you go through the formulas, you will understand it. So this is non-co-channel interference. We are in non-co-channel interference. So now we will see the non-linear amplification. So when the near end mobile unit is close to the cell site, its transmitted power is too strong and saturate the intermediate frequency log amplifier. If the receive signal at the cell site exceeds minus 55 dBm, so there should be a separation of minimum minus 55 dBm. A typical log intermediate frequency amplifier characteristics is shown in figure. So this is the typical log IF amplifier characteristics. So we have dB and dBm. So this is the output. So this is the 70 dB linear range. So assume that the mobile unit transmit power is 36 dBm. You have to assume that the mobile unit transmitted power is 36 dBm and the antenna gain is 2 dBm. So 36 plus 2 will be how much? 38. The power plus the gain is 38 dBm. So there will be a 38 dBm. The receive power is 55 dBm at the cell site. So the receiver power is 55 dBm at the cell site. So the propagation loss L will be 38 dBm minus of 55 dBm. So there will be 93 dB. So there will be 93 dBm. We may calculate the free space path loss, which is the maximum distance within which the saturation of the IF amplifier will occur. The calculation of free space loss versus distances 850 megahertz is as follows. So we want a dBm of minus 55 dBm between the two cells, between the two channels, minus 55 dBm. So this should be equal to 10 log P by 4 pi square D by lambda square. But there is a power of 38 dBm due to transmitted power and the antenna gain. Due to the transmitted power and antenna gain, there is a dBm of 38 dBm. So this is 38 dBm here. So we have 38 dBm minus 20 log. So if you take the log, it will become minus 20 log 4 pi minus 20 log D by lambda. And when you do the calculations, if you bring 20 log D by lambda to the left hand side, it will become 55 plus 38 minus 22. So it will be 71. So D by lambda will be 10 to the power 71 by 20, which is equal to 3548. So D will be 3 by 48 lambda, which is nothing but 4115 feet. So if we convert the feet into kilometer, the D will be 1.24 kilometers. So for non-linear amplification to take place, a minimum distance required is 1.24 kilometers. This means that when the mobile unit is within 1.24 kilometers of the cell site boundary, it is possible to saturate the intermediate frequency amplifier. So if it is within the range of 1.24 kilometers of cell site boundary, it is possible to saturate the intermediate frequency amplifier. And it is likely that intermodulation will be generated because of the non-linear portion of the characteristics. So if the intermodulation product matches the frequency channel of another mobile unit far away from the cell site where reception is weak, then the intermodulation can interfere with the other frequency received at the cell site. Next topic is crosstalk. You already know crosstalk. What is crosstalk? Crosstalk is nothing but communication between the forward and receive reverse channel. If you hear your own voice, that is nothing but we call it as crosstalk. We call it as crosstalk. So crosstalk is a unique characteristics of voice channel. So when the cellular radio system was designed, the system was intended to function like a telephone wire line. So a wire pair serves both direction of traffic at the line transmission. In a mobile cellular system, there is a pair of frequencies. So in a cellular system, there is a pair of frequencies occupying a bandwidth of 60 kilohertz, which we simply call a channel. So there will be a frequency of 30 kilohertz of receive path and the 30 kilohertz the transmitted path. There will be two channels, each of 30 kilohertz for receive path and transmitted path. For receive path and transmitted path. Because of paired frequency, coupling through the 2-wire, 4-wire hybrid circuit at the telephone central office, it is possible to hear voices in both frequencies. So because of the paired frequency, it is possible to hear the voices in both frequencies simultaneously while scanning on only one frequency in the air. So we can hear in the forward as well as reverse channel. It is possible to hear voice in the both the frequencies simultaneously while scanning on only for one frequency in the air. So therefore, just as with a wire telephone line, the full conversation can be heard on a single frequency. So this phenomena does not annoy cellular mobile users. So we can hear the same voice on a single frequency. This unnoticeable crosstalk phenomena in frequency pair has no major impact on both wire telephone line and cellular mobile performance. But when real crosstalk occurs, it has a larger impact on the cellular mobile system. So when real crosstalk occurs, it has a larger impact on the cellular mobile system because the amount of crosstalk could potentially be double since crosstalk occurring on one frequency will be here on the other frequency. So in real time, so in real crosstalk occurs, it is possible that there will be a double the crosstalk occurring on one frequency when which will be heard on the other frequency channel. So crosstalk occurring on the reverse voice channel can be heard on the forward voice channel. So crosstalk is nothing but hearing the reverse voice channel on the forward voice channel and hearing the forward voice channel on the reverse voice channel. So that is nothing but we call it as crosstalk. We call it as crosstalk. So crosstalk in near and mobile unit. Crosstalk can occur when one mobile unit is very close to the cell site and the other is far from the cell site. Both units are calling to the landline parties. So in general, there should be a isolation of more than 30 dB between the two demultiplexer channels. There should be an isolation of more than 30 dB. So for example, this is the crosstalk phenomenon. This is the crosstalk phenomenon. So we have two mobile units, mobile unit A and mobile unit B. They are communicating with the antenna. This is the antenna. So it will go to the demultiplexer. The signal will be demultiplexed. Then it will go to the switch, then to the control oscillator and to the building. So these two signals will interfere with each other. These two mobile units will interfere with each other. So same crosstalk can be heard from both forward voice channel and reverse voice channel. FVC means forward voice channel. RVC means reverse voice channel. So same crosstalk can be heard from both forward voice channel and reverse voice channel. So the near end mobile unit has a strong signal such that the demultiplexer cannot have an oscillation of more than 30 dB. Then the strong signal can generate strong crosstalk while the received signal from mobile unit B is 30 dB weaker than signal A. Next one is near end mobile unit in crosstalk. So near end mobile units can belong to one system or to another foreign system. If the foreign system unit are operating in the new allocated spectrum channel, crosstalk can occur. So if the foreign unit or another system are operating in the new allocated spectrum channel, crosstalk can occur. When the mobile unit is close to the cell site and the cell site is capable of reducing the power of the mobile unit, the near end mobile unit interference can be reduced. If the operating frequency of both home system unit and foreign system unit are in new allocated spectrum channel and the isolation of the multicoupler could be only 30 dB, crosstalk would occur in two interfering clusters of channels and cannot be controlled by the system operator. So if there is a difference of 30 dB in between the two demultiplexers and the foreign system and the home unit are talking on each other, it cannot be controlled. It cannot be controlled by the system operator. So as I've told you, there is a channel A and channel B. There is a possibility of crosstalk between channel A and channel B. So A dash B dash are the additional spectrum interference. So this is the reverse channel and this is the forward channel. So between the reverse channel and forward channel, crosstalk may be possible. Crosstalk may be possible. Close in mobile unit. So when a mobile unit is very close to the cell site, and if the reception at the cell site is greater than minus 55 dBm, the channel preamplifier at the cell site can become saturated and produce intermodulation as a result of nonlinear portion of the amplification. This intermodulation product are the spurious signals which leaks into the desired signal and produce crosstalk. So if they are close in mobile unit, it may also result in spurious signals which leaks into the desired signals and produce crosstalk. Co-channel crosstalk. The co-channel interference reduction ratio Q should be as large as possible to compensate for the cost of site construction and the limitation of available channel at each cellular site. There are other ways to increase the co-channel reduction ratio Q. An adequate system design will help to reduce the co-channel crosstalk. The channel combiner. The signal isolation among the forward voice channel in a channel combiner is 17 dB. The loss resulting from inserting the signal into the combiner is about 3 dB. So there will be a total of 20 dB. So the requirement of intermodulation product suppression is about 55 dB. So if one outlet is not matched well, the signal isolation is less than 17 dB. So there should be a proper isolation of 17 dB. There should be a proper isolation of 17 dB. And for the intermodulation product suppression, there should be a isolation of 55 dB. There should be a isolation of 55 dB. Telephone line crosstalk. Sometimes crosstalk can result from cable imbalance or switching error at the central office and can be conveyed to the customer through the telephone line. Minimizing this type of crosstalk should be given the same priority as reducing the number of call drops. So with this, we have completed the crosstalk. So we have completed the adjacent channel interference, near and far end interference, and crosstalk. The remaining topics are effect on coverage and interference by power decrease, antenna height decrease, effect of cell side components. We will be seeing in the next class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Do you have any doubts? If you have any doubts, you can ask me. I'll clarify the doubts. It seems you don't have any doubts. Okay, I will end the session today. Okay.